one of the first things you want to do is find out who is going to buy your product. Now, everyone is in my target market. That's what everyone thinks when they're starting out. But in fact, that's not the case. Not everyone is in your target market. Not everyone is going to buy your product. Otherwise, all of us would have Nintendo Wiis. All of us would have Lexus cars. All of us would have, weed eaters. I don't have a big yard, so I don't really need a weed eater. So you got to find out who your market is, and realize that when you're going out there and spending money on advertising later on, or even if you're licensing, you have to find out who your customer is so you can really hone in on it and accurately pinpoint who you're going to sell your product to. So what are some ways to figure out who your customer is? There's really two main types of ways you can categorize consumers or how they purchase things. One is by demographics. That's usually things that are a little bit easier to tell. The other is psychographics, how people think and how people behave. So demographics, that's typical stuff: age, gender, race, education, marital status, income, a family life cycle, how many kids they have, things like that. Psychographics, it's a little tougher to establish, but one of the good things, if you're inventing, you're probably inventing something because you had an issue with something, or it caused you some sort of pain, or you're frustrated doing something. So automatically you're a customer. So you know how that customer thinks. When we created Idea Tango, we knew what inventors wanted because the people who helped us create it, we were inventors. So automatically you're going to have an insight into how your customers are thinking. So really use that to your advantage. That's something Procter & Gamble, someone who's at Procter & Gamble and is developing a oral hygiene product. They may not use that at home. They may not be a customer. So that's something you have over them. So use that to your advantage. And so psychographics is, are they conservative? Are they liberal? Are they thrifty? Or do they spend a lot of money? Are they trendy? Or are they kind of, at the tail end of trends? You can also look at opinions. Are they going to be a leader in their group of peers? Or are they going to really be the ones that are more following? Or are they leading? And you can also look at what do they do in their spare time, their hobbies, their physical activities. Do they like books? Do they like shopping? Do they like sports, or whatever the case is? So those are two ways where you can break down and figure out who your target market is. Competition. Now, when we're inventing something unique. However unique your product may be, there's competition. And so don't ever say to yourself, there is no competition, because if you say that to yourself, you're going to find it at one point or another. You're going to find competition, and you're not going to be prepared. So the best thing to do is realize there is competition, so go out there and find it. And competition is actually, contrary to what most people think, competition can be a good thing, because that proves that there's a market and a need for your product. So, when the 97% of people who have patents don't commercially succeed, it's because there wasn't a market. So, but automatically, if you have competition or someone is selling something similar, not the exact same, of course, but something similar, they've proven the market for you. So you already have an instinct that your product is going to do better out there. So it can be a good thing. If you're having a hard time finding your competitors, on the internet, go to trade shows, go to associations, look at their members. If you're having a hard time finding competitors, then how do people currently get by? I mean, somehow we manage nowadays, right? Doing whatever it is we do. Maybe we're a little frustrated. But that, in a way, is a competitor. The status quo is a competitor of your product. So what are alternatives to your product, or what are substitutions for your product? A good example is cable TV. Time Warner Cable is always saying, we can raise the cost of cable because it's still a cheaper form of entertainment than going to a night at the movies with your family. For a Time Warner, they're paying whatever, $40 a month for cable. You go to one movie on one night, that's $40 for a whole family. And so look at substitutions. They say we're entertainment, so our competitors are movies. Our competitors are even outdoor activities. So look beyond just your current product and industry for your competitors. So when you're looking at your competitors, you're also going to be finding out about your industry. and find out as much information as you can about who are the distributors, what trade shows they go to, associations they're involved with. Different industries have different profit margins. The medical, for example, medicine, so prescription medicine, they have margins, 20 and 30% on their products. However, grocery store chains have margins of 1 and 2 and 3%. It's the same way with products. Something that's going to be maybe a toy is going to have pretty thin margins, but if you're inventing a medical device, that's going to have higher margins. So look at those margins for your industry and use that to compare that to your own product.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Wouldn't that be like something secret or you wouldn't be published? I mean, I make a 30% margin, I make 100% margin. Whatever.
Well, you can take if you find a competing product, you go to the store, you buy that product. You can probably find out who makes it. You could even, if you wanted to, you could send it to a manufacturer and ask them how much it costs to make it. So you can then know how much it costs your competitor to make that product. So you can dive in a little bit more and find out a little bit more. It will take a little digging. They're not going to tell you right out, but you can find out what the margins are for your industry. So you can also look at your industry. Some industries, they take new innovations from inventors. Other industries don't. Some industries, they receive inventions better than other industries. So take that into account. And if there are inventions that did poor or well, try and analyze why that was the case. So then you're already be ahead of the game when you're putting your product out there. And you can also look at trends. We had talked about industry trends. People have their reports on industries out there. You can look at those trends. And of course, if you're developing something that could be regulated, you have to, of course, be sure and follow their guidelines. Otherwise, your product may go out there and be against OSHA or EPA guidelines, and it's not going to do all that well. So be sure and look for any regulatory agencies in your industry. So you have all this secondary market research to do, right? You're going to go home and you're going to do it. Where are you going to go do it? There are lots of resources out there. Of course, everyone's been saying the internet and Google, and that's probably the biggest resource anyone can ever hope for. I mean, I don't know how people lived and did market research or anything 5 years ago without Google. But other than Google, there are commercial sites. Commercial sites usually, they're going to cost you some money, so sometimes they require a monthly subscription of a couple $100. It really depends. A couple of the commercial sites are LexisNexis, MarketResearch.com, and Hoover's. And if you guys have heard of Dun & Bradstreet, they own Hoover's. But you can find information on companies, on their products, and things like that on those commercial sites. Government sites are a huge wealth of information. If you haven't ever looked at census data or small business administration data, at the SBA data, those two are huge resources of information. They put out reports and everything is free. It's all free.